Hello, Blue Protocol fans. I'm your host, Frosty Coffee, bringing you the latest and greatest news coverage on Bandai Namco's upcoming MMORPG. Today, we will be doing a recap of Blue Protocol's closed beta test, the Bandai Namco webinar for Blue Protocol, and data mining updates for the game. We have a lot of information to unpack, so let's get started. It's a crazy week here in the Astraleads, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of people dancing, singing, having a great time, and enjoying their time here in Blue Protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of information to go through, so let's get started. Blue Protocol's closed beta test was held on November 7th at 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific time. The number of test applicants were 15,000 players. Players were allowed to sign up from October 26th until November 2nd, 2020. We began at 5 a.m. and lasted roughly for 10 to 15 minutes before the servers disconnected from us. Personally, from my experience, when I first went in, I had a lot of people joining me for the live stream, and I really enjoyed all of the support that I had. We jumped in, and I unfortunately forgot my password when joining in, but I eventually figured it out, and I jumped into the game, and it was just as exciting as back in April 2020 for the first closed beta test. But this time around, we had some restrictions, and when we jumped into the Astraleads this time around, we had a level set of 25. We had a bunch of skill tickets, not skill tickets, but we had a bunch of skills that we could allocate to ourselves, to our characters, choose any class that we wanted, and they were all set to level 25. So it was a lot of fun being able to jump into the game, until I tried to choose my cosmetics. That is where everything went wrong. And when I went for that NPC and I tried to access using my glory coins, I tried to access the NPC, and there weren't very many people there at first. And when I tried to access that NPC, nothing came up. It was just like I was still in third person. It wasn't showing me the first person view of showing all my cosmetic menus and all that stuff for me to be able to purchase things. And it stopped there. I mean, I didn't see anyone moving at all, and or people were just stuck and they just could not do anything. And then soon, just like maybe a minute down the line, the servers crashed on us, and I was like, oh no, the servers crashed on us. Yes, a lot of people were trying to log in. It took a while to log in even, and it was just absolutely crazy trying to log into the servers, and it was just a rush to get into the game. So eventually, after about 30 minutes of them trying to work out the issue, they found out that one server was affected because of the crash, and no other servers were affected. And once they got that server back up, everything was good to go. Now let's talk about the matchmaking. Originally in the first closed beta test, the matchmaking load times were 20 to 16 seconds in order for queue times for dungeons, arena, or raid, etc. It was able to be obtained at 15 seconds though, at a minimum on average during the stress test, which was an exceptional upgrade from being in the original closed beta test in April. Now let's talk about the interface design. The developers have also been considering changing up the UI and UX design due to the state of the stress testing, such as timeouts from being disconnected from matchmaking. So my best reference for this right now is Final Fantasy XIV. I'm going to give you an example here. If a player is AFK and the queue timer ends, it will automatically re-queue the player for that dungeon, arena, raid, etc. That is what the developers are talking about when they mention that users are disconnecting or being AFK during a matchmaking test. And that is what is going to happen going forward, is they want to implement that for the game. The developers are also bold below and wrote in bold below that they will implement a function that allows players to be recruited if players are missing from said dungeon, arena, or raid environment. I think this is just simply a recap from what they just said, but that is simply basically what I just described. Now, notification of a disconnect. Now, the developers also mentioned at the end of the recap that whenever there is a disconnection to the server, you will receive a notification that the matching was canceled or not possible due to a disconnect from the server. This is kind of like when you get an error code if like you're not connected to a game server or something like that. Simply that. This is something that they found happening a lot during the stress test version of the game. Now, chat testing. This was towards the end of everything after they got the new schedule going and all that for us doing Dragon's Claw Valley and the 2 other dungeons, Arena and Raid. And they decided to do a chat test. Now, back in the closed beta test, it took quite a long time at times because when everyone was in the main city and trying to chat all with each other in like shout chat or just in close proximity of each other, it took a really long time for the server to pop up your message. So they say here delays from about 1 to 60 seconds was concentrated specifically on chat. The devs also noticed an issue with stamps not showing up in the left-hand corner of the screen, which they plan on fixing in the future. So that is what they said overall during this recap message or this news feed that they gave us over on Twitter and also on the official website. So that is a simple recap of the closed beta test. It was an awesome experience from my point of view. I just have to say, guys, that even going in the second time, I really enjoyed being able to play the closed beta test for a second time around. Even though it was only 3 hours, the hype just keeps on building and building and building. Now, the only thing that was a little bit unfortunate is that, of course, the restrictions. I did not get to see story mode like the first time around in April. And of course, we had our characters already leveled and you could not visit the other zones that were accessible in the first closed beta test. Now, if you guys want to see more of that gameplay, I still have lots of footage that I haven't even released yet, and I do plan on releasing to you guys. And of course, the rest of the storyline, I have not translated the rest of it, and I have not uploaded my point of view of the storyline. So I still plan on doing that and still plan on showing you guys my point of view when I first played April's closed beta test. So lots of content that I still have to show to you guys. So be sure to stick around for that. Also, the devs end with thanking everyone for their support during such a short time period for the closed beta test, as they hope to meet everyone's expectations as they continue to develop the game. So keep that in mind, guys. This game is still in development and there's a lot of things that they want to implement that they haven't even shown to us yet. And not even this closed beta test is not even breaking the surface of content that they want to give to us in Blue Protocol. So just keep that in mind. This game is still in development and lots of content is going to be implemented. They also say that the developers also mentioned that the t-shirt giveaways have been emailed out. So unfortunately, I didn't get chosen again, which is unfortunate, but of course I'm not in Japan either, so that is fine as well. Now, moving on to the second topic, we have Bandai Namco webinar. To begin, it started off with I believe their community manager, Haruna Hoshino. Now, although there wasn't a lot of information, it allowed students looking for a job in Japan to be able to participate, ask questions about Blue Protocol and the company as a whole. Throughout the webinar, it allowed fans to learn about the development process of how Bandai Namco works as a company. I wanted to highlight some of the things in my opinion, which was interesting topics shown throughout. However, this could be boring information highlighted to the specific core aspects behind how Blue Protocol is made throughout Bandai Namco's company. The studio is currently working on Blue Protocol in Studio 3. There is a hierarchy of studios throughout Bandai from 1 down to 5, and Blue Protocol is the centerpiece of it all. The next chart that I wanted to show is project organization chart. This basically shows how Blue Protocol operates as the team as a whole. It shows the producers, the director group, the management team, process management, the story production, the design team, combat battle design team, the visual animation team, server management, and sound technicians. All of these grouped together developed to make Blue Protocol. And that's what I found very interesting, seeing how the process works, how each group is organized and in their own sections in order to make this beautiful and amazing game. And that's what I find interesting, and I hope you find interesting as well. It may be boring to some, but personally, it's just interesting hearing about how Blue Protocol operates. The next slide we have is the concept of Blue Protocol. They say this is the anime opening field, basically showing the open world of Blue Protocol. It shows the game concept, which is the strategy for the situation, mastering the class, and the players showing a sense of cooperation together. That is the game concept, to bring players together to have a satisfying and fun experience. The next part is the multi-action. The idea here is for the game concept and visual concept to come together. The visual concept is aiming to expand the IP by mixing media in the same world setting, attracting fans with that cell look animation expression unique to Japan. Also, they mentioned down below creative movie animation. The idea here is to bring everything together so that it makes that movie-like experience. So whenever you go to the theater to watch an anime movie, or at any point in time, you get that very anime-esque movie experience with that design, that artistry, and overall look of the visuals. So guys, that is what they're trying to achieve here by bringing everything together and make a movie-like experience when you play this game and have that anime-esque look, and also just have all that combat and gameplay just bringing together to make an overall unique and beautiful experience, which they have been doing so far, and I cannot wait to see more. The last slide that I have here I thought would be very interesting for each and every one of you. Now, all of the slides that I've brought here from the webinar are basically the most important, or what I thought would be interesting for you guys. There was other slides that were here, but I decided not to translate them, and I thought they were very basic and really not needed. And I'm sure the other ones may not have been needed either, but I thought this one was the most important out of all of them. They're currently recruiting for Blue Protocol for more staff members. So what their current major plans are right now is for a game designer, which would be a contract employee, and of course, something that we knew about months ago, but now is more even further confirmed, they're looking for a localization director. And that means that they could bring this to many different parts of the globe, to Europe and to North America and other places throughout the world. So that is very exciting, guys, and I am very excited to hear and see that they are looking for a localization director. And although we already knew about it months ago, they are finally confirming it here once again, and they're further pushing that they want a localization director. Being that it's in red, it's on the top of the list, they're very much looking for that, and it's very exciting to hear. And of course, the next thing that they're looking for is a game engine design position, which would allow them to further develop the AI with an AI engineer, and that is very exciting. So that could mean more mechanics, better mechanics that would make things more challenging and more mechanically driven, that would allow players to work even further together to try and work out mechanics and learn. Something that might be more WoW or maybe more Final Fantasy 14-esque in terms of AoE and mechanics, and really driving us to work together and really build up a strong connection and sync together to try and learn those mechanics. And who knows how long it would take us. Is there going to be something like world progression and things like that? That would be really cool to see in the future, and it'd be really interesting to cover that if that were to become a thing in the future for Blue Protocol. I would love to be able to do something like that if they go that in depth and make the game that more mechanically driven and more difficult and more challenging. I love a good challenge, and that would be awesome to see more mechanically driven mechanics in Blue Protocol. I just would love to see more of a challenge in this game, and I really think it would be awesome. Regardless, I still love this game, and I still love the direction it's going. And I cannot wait to see the more information and the more things that they bring to us coming forward in the future as they develop this game. All right, guys, so that's all that I really have for the webinar, and I hope you all enjoyed that piece of information, and I hope that makes you guys that much more excited. Now, let's jump into the data mined information from the stress test on November 7th. Let's check it out. Previously, for the first closed beta test, we had some data mining information. Now, I'm going to list for you what I've managed to data mine from the first closed beta test, which is 6, 7, 11, and 12. That is Blast Archer, 7 being Twin Striker, 11 being Spellcaster, and 12 being Aegis Fighter. Now, let's list all of them. 4 is Gunslinger, 5 is Splash, which is broken, 6, you know what it is, 7, 8 is Engineer, broken, 9 is Striker, broken, 10 is Slayer, broken, 11 and 12, and then you have 13 as a short verification class, broken, 14 is Imagine, broken, 15 I did not test, and I'm sure there's very many more after that. But let's go and look at closed beta test number 2 and what the database Discord, their website, has listed from closed beta test number 2. They say for the quote-unquote new classes are, the first one is a default of none. Number 2 is Wizard, Sword Slayer, Artist, Gunslinger, Splash, Blast Archer, Twin Striker, Engineer, Striker, Slayer, Spellcaster, Aegis Fighter, Short Range Verification Class, Long Range Verification Class, Test Imagine, Vanguard, Sentinel, Heavy Arm. Okay, so let's stop right there. Let's look at everything combined. Basically, these quote-unquote new classes could be maybe 2 or 3 things. They're either placeholders for future classes. 2, they could be job classes, and they could be like building upon our base classes like Blast Archer, Twin Striker, Aegis Fighter, and Spellcaster. So things like Wizard could be a job class for Spellcaster. Sentinel or Vanguard could potentially be something for either Twin Striker or Aegis Fighter. I'm thinking more Sentinel or Vanguard are more towards Aegis Fighter. I'm not sure exactly what Twin Striker could branch off to be, but I'll let you guys just basically speculate after that. And then there's other things here as a third option that I'm thinking, like the short range verification class, the long range verification class. I'm thinking that's more along the lines of potentially being just a placeholder for enemies. So for example, the enemies you see in dungeons as an example, those could possibly be the classes in which the enemies hold, and those are just placeholders for those. And then there's another thought. There's a thought of classes such as crafting classes, and that could be a thing within all of this as well. Now, Striker or Slayer, not so much. Engineer, that's a possibility as being maybe a crafting class, or possibly it is a placeholder for Gunslinger as being a possible upgrade job class as well. So there's many things that you could speculate with all of these classes, but just keep in mind that whenever you're listing or whenever you're thinking of and looking at data mined information, take it with a grain of salt, basically, and don't think of it as confirmed kind of thing. So just think of it that way. So that's basically what I have to say about the new classes, but it's very interesting. We could also see NPC classes like our story classes like Jake. We already know that I think he's either a Vanguard or Sentinel, one of those two. And we know that he doesn't have a shield and he uses strictly a sword, and he does kicking combos, but also uses a sword as well. So just keep that in mind when thinking of any of the new classes that have been data mined or any of that. The closest class that we have so far is Gunslinger, and we've already seen it in the closed beta test, and I could show you that even on screen if I haven't already. Now, let's go on to some more information. Next is the guild system. Now, a lot of players have been highly anticipating this, and a lot of people and other groups or guilds have been really wanting to promote their guild and really produce this for this game. So this game will have a guild system, which is awesome. And I'm very excited for it as well, because I would love to be in a guild in Blue Protocol. And that is an awesome thing to have. Now, it's already been data mined that application list. So for people that apply to a guild, you can apply guild settings. So those are being the restrictions in which each individual member has. So for example, I'm just going to use Final Fantasy XIV again, just because I love Final Fantasy XIV and it has such a great system already. So looking at Final Fantasy XIV, you know there's settings for restricting certain things like being able to access a chest or money or anything else like that, from settings to hierarchy of command throughout your guild. That is where you get to access the guild settings. These are menus, by the way, that are being listed. Member list. People can look at the member list. Who is in your guild? And you can probably have ranks and stuff like that, just like Final Fantasy XIV in Blue Protocol. That is where the member list is going to be and where you'll see some basic information about each member. Guild. It is a short description, I'm sure, and of course maybe a symbol or something that represents your guild, and of course the name of your guild and all that jazz, and what your guild is all about within the main guilds tab. Now, the next one is another set of guild settings, which I'm sure either has to do with some basic member settings or something to do with the admin level settings again. And they list guild settings twice, which is kind of odd, but I'm sure it's all part of the plan for the guild settings. Member settings. Now, this is strictly for members. This is more, I'm sure this is probably like a sub-tab of the guild settings, but I think it's all part of the same thing. Personal preferences. Now, this shows what you preference within your guild. Now, I'm sure there's probably settings in which you like to play, like easy, like casual, or you would be hardcore. I'm sure there's settings like that that will probably show up so that when you're in your guild, it will show what kind of things you like to do. Role playing potentially even as well. And I'm sure all those settings will all be there within the guild settings. So those are all the guild settings so far, and the composition, like your job and all that other stuff, is all coming to fruition, and that is exciting to see. So tell me what you guys think about that in the comments section down below. Now, let's move on to the zones. The first zone that we have is a test map. Obviously, this is where the developers test their zones. And of course, animations, effects, you name it. The developer always has a test zone whenever they're testing any kind of content within an online or in a developer engine type of area. The next one is the Trade City Asteries, which is basically, it's a weird translation, but it's basically the Astralead's main city. Salamazart Oasis. Now, that is a brand new zone which we got from the most recent developer live stream, if you guys remember that. And that is like a desert type of style area, which is a really neat looking zone. But I doubt we'll ever see that in a closed beta test or an open beta test, just because I think they want to keep us within the prologue of the game and not see too much speculation, storyline, and all that other jazz that they don't want to spoil for anyone. Urlau Township. Now, I don't think we've been here before. I don't think we've heard of it, but it is a new location, I believe, as well, beyond Salamazart Oasis. Asteria Plain. We know that. We've been there. It is just outside of the Astralead's main city. Asteria Plain - the Sea Ringing Meadow. We know about 3 of these. Asteria Plain - Minster Hill. We've been there. Asteria Plain Andorra Basin. We've been there. Asteria Plain, the Terraces of Yinagai. Now, we have not located that place. Well, we have located it, but it restricted us in the first closed beta test. It would not allow us to go into that zone. It was restricted. And I believe that is the zone right off of Andorra Basin. Bamal Plateau. These are new places as well, I believe. Bamal Plateau, God's Watching Hill. Now, I'm thinking this is either in somewhere in Andorra Basin, or it's a part of a different zone, which is on the other side of the tower or something like that. So that big tower that you know, that is like the main focus of the main game from the beginning of the prologue, that is where the tower is, and it could watch over many zones, and we could see it in the background from many places, that main tower. So that is like a main focus of the game, at least from the prologue's point of view. But the Bahamal Plateau is probably in an opposite direction from the Andorra Basin. Now, they have 3 here. They have God's Watching Hill, the Foothills of Tranquility, and Feeling Pond. I have not heard of those names yet, so I think it's on the opposite side of the main tower. Now, the next one is Montenor Valley. And then they have 3 after this: Central, East, and South. Obviously, I think this is more to the eastern side of things, on the eastern side of Endora Basin. That's what my main thoughts are, but I'll let you guys speculate. The next is Evergreen Desert. Evergreen Desert East, South, West, and Central. And then there's North. So this is a very big place, I can imagine, because it's got so many zones interlocked into it compared to the others that it is such a massive zone. Cape Lawela. Sorry, I'm trying to pronounce these, or at least from what is translated, but it seems like that's what that place is. Now, Cape Lawela. I don't really know what to picture when I hear that type of name. Koanani Forest. So I'm sure this is probably a very deep looking forest, or maybe just a tavern to a new area. Okay, so this one is really interesting, and I do love wintry zones. Granville Ice World. Now that sounds interesting. It sounds like a completely different zone, completely dedicated to like a winter area. I cannot wait to see something like that, and I cannot wait to see that in this type of anime style-esque of art that they've created for Blue Protocol. The Abyss of Hot Sand Desolation. Now this sounds like a very destroyed and destructive place. Now whenever you think of a destructive, flamey, fiery, or hell-like place, you think of like the end of the game, like it's the end game. You're getting to the end game of Blue Protocol. That's what I think of when I see the name The Abyss of Hot Sand Desolation. Either that's part of the desert place of the Salamazart Oasis, or it's part of the end game. Lava. Now there's straight up just a place called Lava. Now that could be a dungeon for all we know. I don't know, but it sounds like part of the end game. Trees of Grace. Now this sounds like more heavenly in a way, like some kind of sanctuary of some sort. Trees of Grace. It sounds very peaceful when you hear that. Chalk Memory. Now this sounds like something that could be a flashback, something that happened within your memory, because we know that there's issues with the main character's memory of not being able to remember. Chalk Memory, meaning you've forgotten your past, and this is a place, maybe your home world or something, that you're starting to remember, that you're going to this place, this location called Chalk Memory. That could be what it means. Arvet Rock Wall. Could just be a rocky location within the mountains or something like that. Maybe it's branching off of the Granville Ice World. That could be a thing. The Soundless City. Ooh, for us to be able to see a city in Blue Protocol, that sounds so cool. It could potentially be like a futuristic city, or when they call it the Soundless City, you think of a very destroyed city, as if like it's inhabited, like there's no one there kind of thing. And it's completely abandoned. That's what I think of when I think of the Soundless City. The Pillar of the Magi. Okay, so this is very magician-like, that there's lots of type of magicians, or the City of Mages or something like that, or a Temple of Mages. That's what I think of when I hear the Pillar of Magi. All right, the next thing is the Manacle of Fetters. These are just quotes. I'm going to read them through them to you guys, and if I catch on something that I think might be interesting, I'll talk about it. The Manacle of Fetters. The next one is Claw Marks of the Dragon, the Cathedral of Heavenly Blessing, Barnhart Castle Old Underground Canal, Fort Dawn Bug, the Royal Institute of Drava, Sea God Cave, Cemetery of the Ancestors, the far north of the Underworld, dragons starring at Caresnus, Abandoned Starburst Mine, Distorted Will, Lake Ridge, Valley of the Tracks, the Ruins of Barroam, the Arena, Snowfield, the Coast, the City of Ruins Payload, the Sky, the Instrumental Wedge, Claw Marks of the Giant Dragon West, the Hidden Watershed, and then there's a bunch of Sky listed, the Fever Swamp of Hades, Sky, and then there's St. Buffalo Island Underground, the Fever Swamp of Hades, St. Buffalo Island Underground again, Abandoned Mine, the Sky, Ruins of the Cliffs, that's listed twice, Ruins of the Great Tower, southwest of Ritz Village, Rescuing and Bait and Switch Kid, Diva Rescue, the Whispering Cliffs, Insect Forest Hard, Claw Marks of the Dragon, Claw Marks of the Giant Dragon Hard, Tutorial Mode, Claw Marks of the Giant Dragon Public Dungeon, Raid Boss Battle. Okay, so that's a lot of information, guys. It's a lot. Oh my goodness, that's a lot to list off. And this is a long video already, guys. But ladies and gentlemen, after listing off every single one of those, I have to think that the second half of this list is all dungeons, or it's some type of branch off of a open dungeon, or potentially just a dungeon in general. I'm thinking that these are either small or sub locations of a major zone. Like when you heard like Snowfield, I think that's off of the ice world that we heard earlier as a zone. And all of these other zones are most likely dungeons or sub places of those locations. And that's what I'm thinking whenever I hear any of these locations. The sky, for I don't know why, it could potentially be some kind of heavenly area, and where we have to constantly see many different types of that version of the sky. So that's what I'm thinking when I hear that. With all of that rambling out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is that's a lot of data mined information and a lot to talk about. A lot of things from the recap to the webinar to Blue Protocol's data mined information. I probably could have broken this up into many different videos, but ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to provide a big packed video so that you guys could just see all of the awesome content that's coming towards us in the near future for Blue Protocol. This game is going to be so big, and I feel, without white knighting it too much, I think it's going to be an amazing game, and I cannot wait to see what is in store from Bandai Namco's company. Guys, just let me know what you think with all of this information in fold in your hands towards you guys. What do you guys think about Blue Protocol going forward? What do you guys think about all the awesome content that we're going to be able to see in this truly amazing game? All right, thank you so much for watching, guys. It was a lot of content to get through, but if you listen through all of it, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. And guys, before you even leave, please continue to support me. Hit that like button, comment your thoughts in the comment section down below. And of course, if you guys want to see more Blue Protocol information in depth like I did today, ladies and gentlemen, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon to see all that awesome Blue Protocol content and so much more. All right, guys, I think I'm going to go back to playing some PlayStation 5, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Stay frosty, everyone.